What's up everybody, OT for Tech here, and today we're finally going to get to that OnePlus One full review with the official unboxing and a comparison between the white silk model and the black sandstone model. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the unboxing, and you can see here the actual charging brick itself comes in a separate box, and we'll go ahead and take a closer look at it. You can see your USB port right there for your data cable, as well as your two-prong charger that goes into your wall. It's a 2-volt charger, and it also has the OnePlus logo right there in the corner. I also purchased a screen protector for my OnePlus One. Right now you can get them on their website. They're about $5 and they're the actual official OnePlus One screen protector. They're nothing fancy, there's just a static cling style screen protector, but the packaging is very premium. For such a cheap screen protector, it's pretty funny actually. On the right side you have your screen protector, on the left side you have a microfiber towel, as well as 2 stickers to help with the installation and a squeegee. So finally we actually get to the official packaging of the OnePlus One. We'll go ahead and remove it from the cardboard box in which it came in, and you can see the actual box for the OnePlus One. It's very similar to the Oppo Find 7a packaging, but it has its own little twist. Just slide it on out and open it up, and you can see the first thing you're greeted with is the OnePlus One Sandstone Black model, because the white silk model is not being sold with the official packaging yet. We'll take a closer look at the actual device in just a little bit, but for now let's set it to the side and see what else comes in the box. Go ahead and pull up the tray in which the phone was sitting in, and underneath that you have your red and white data cable. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at that data cable, and the first thing you're going to notice, it has a very unique USB head. I've never seen one that looked like this. It doesn't offer anything special, it's just really cool looking and very unique. And there is your micro USB 2.0 charging head that goes into the port on your phone, and it also has a strap to keep your cord tangle free. You also get a SIM card removal tool, and you can see there's nothing special about it. It comes in a little silicone sleeve with a little ring to attach it to your keychain if you want. So here we have the white model on the right and we have the black model on the left, and in terms of design, the only thing that separates these two is the actual back plates themselves. And let me tell you, they are completely different. The black model almost feels like sandpaper or felt paper, while the white model is very smooth and it's slippery. And the white model tends to attract fingerprints much easier than the black model. I actually prefer the black model over the white one, but the material kind of makes my palms sweat a lot more than they already sweat. But nevertheless, it does give me a much better grip. The front of the phone houses that massive 5.5-inch display with some capacitive buttons, your 5-megapixel front-facing camera, speaker grill, ambient and proximity sensor, as well as a LED notification light. On the right side of the device lies your power button. It's a bit small, but you're still going to be able to feel it, and it's in a good position. Moving up to the top of the phone, you're going to find a microphone as well as a 3.5mm headphone jack, and from this angle you can actually see some of the curves the phone has to offer. On the left side of the phone, you're going to find your volume up and down buttons as well as a SIM card slot. The volume up and down buttons are small, but nevertheless they're very tactile. The bottom of the phone houses yet another microphone, your micro USB charging port, as well as your dual stereo speakers. On the back of the phone, you're going to find the CyanogenMod logo towards the bottom, the OnePlus logo towards the middle of the top, the dual LED flash, your camera, and another microphone. The camera is actually encompassed by a metal bezel. So now that we've done an overview of what the phone is made of and what the phone looks like, how does it feel in the hand? Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This phone is massive. If you're coming from an iPhone and you're used to using your phone with one hand, you can forget about it with this device. I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but moving your thumb diagonally across the screen to get from one edge to the other is not going to happen unless you have giant hands. But overall, my experience with the OnePlus One in terms of the design has been excellent. It has rounded edges, it has very nice curves, it's very thin, it's lightweight. So even if I'm using 2 hands now instead of my 1-hand experience that I have on my iPhone, it's still a great experience, and I have no regret switching over to the OnePlus One for this time frame. One thing about the OnePlus One that I forgot to mention is the fact that it has a removable backplate. But before you get excited, the battery cannot be taken out, nor does it house an SD card slot. Later on in the future, OnePlus plans to offer different backplates that you can purchase to exchange the one that you currently have on your phone for new ones made of wood or denim. Removing the backplate isn't that simple though. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove the SIM card slot. Next, take your fingernail and stick it into the micro USB charging port down below and try to pry off the bottom through that port. You're going to want to put some muscle behind it, otherwise it's not going to give. So make sure that you pop up a corner at least, and once you get a little bit of the case up, it's a little bit easier. Just go from side to side and around all of the edges with your finger, and the case will give and pop up. It's going to feel like you're going to damage it, but you're really not. As long as you don't just pull it off or pull it too hard, it won't break. Just simply give it a good tug and it will come undone. It's similar to your life-proof style cases. Just be very, very careful because errors do happen. As you see here, I sliced under my thumbnail and that just occurred during this process. And before, I tried to remove the case through the SIM card slot instead of the micro USB card slot, and I actually buckled and damaged above my power and volume button. The casing itself is actually very cheap. As you see here, my volume up and down buttons just kind of fell out. They're not really attached with any kind of glue. Moving on to the display, the 5.5-inch IPS display with a pixel density of 401, which features the touch-on lens technology. The display is gorgeous. It has very crisp text and it has very clear images, but more so, you have the ability to switch between capacitive and on-screen buttons, a feature that I wish was on any phone that included capacitive buttons because I find it very useful and I use it all the time. Since my original video on the Oneplus One, they have improved call quality a lot. Now the person on the other end sounds very clear and very loud. This also goes for your speakerphone. The speakerphone is going to sound very loud and very clear, as well as listening to music on the dual stereo speakers. Here's a quick test on how well they sound. I have not had any issues with Wi-Fi or cellular service reception since my previous video, so whatever that issue was, it seems to have gotten resolved. As you see here, the Wi-Fi signal is on the right and AT&T LTE is on the left, both very passable. So let's talk about the internals of this phone. As you see, this is the Sandstone Black model. It features 64 gigabytes of storage. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM, the 2.5 gigahertz Snapdragon 801, and the Adreno 330 with a 3100 milliamp battery. Now we'll just go ahead and slide on over to the Silk White model. You can see it features 16 gigabytes of storage and all the same exact specs as the Black Sandstone model. So you're not missing out on anything but the storage. So let's talk about that 3100 milliamp battery. I was impressed at first. When I first got this phone, it seems like before all these updates, I was getting phenomenal battery usage. Now I'm getting anywhere between 2.5 to 4 hours of on-screen time. And for that size of battery, that's not impressive whatsoever. Moving on to the software side of things, it is running Android 4.4.2 KitKat. It's not the latest version, but it's better than a lot of other phones out today. But KitKat isn't this phone's selling point. The selling point is CyanogenMod 11S. This is the latest build of CyanogenMod, and it does not disappoint whatsoever. I'm not going to get into every single feature and setting, but only the ones that I find the most useful. If you simply draw a V when the screen is turned off, you can turn on your flashlight. Do it again, and the flashlight turns off. You can also access your camera app on the fly while the screen is turned off. Simply draw a circle, and the camera app will actually launch. And it has some basic gestures as well, such as a quick double tap on the status bar will kill the display, and a quick double tap on the screen will bring it back to life. Before I get any hateful comments, a simple double tap on the status bar was actually locking the device, not just killing the display. You can also control your music by simple gestures while the display is turned off as well, as you previously just saw. When it comes to skins on top of Android, CyanogenMod 11S is definitely up there in my personal opinion. It's probably my favorite skin ever, only because it is so close to being stock Android while immersively giving you tons of different settings so you can customize and modify your phone to suit your needs. As you previously just saw, you can load up the custom lock screen which comes built into CyanogenMod, and you can also go back to the original lock screen and have different apps that you can access on the fly. You also have different themes and sound packs and icons and lock screens and wallpapers that you can choose from. It's very similar to downloading a launcher in the Google Play Store, only in my personal preference, I find it much more stable and reliable. Not to mention you can mix and match. You can have the Great Freedom icons with maybe the Samsung TouchWiz lock screen, or you can do it vice versa, or you can have the stock Android icons with the Great Freedom wallpaper. It's just a really cool feature and it's really great to have, and it makes your phone more personable and just gives it that little bit more of customization that you might want. Is it a necessity? No. But is it going to make your phone stand out from the crowd? Absolutely. And not only can you throw a theme on your phone, but you can change the actual battery icon in the top right corner. And another thing about the display, if you don't like the way the display looks, you can alter it and you can change it to fit your needs. So you're probably wondering, what do all these settings and themes and customizations do to the overall performance and fluidity of the OS? Absolutely nothing. It's so fluid and so smooth, it's not even funny. It's almost like stock Android, yet it's fully customizable like TouchWiz. Generally, when you swipe up from the home button, you get Google Now. Well, with CyanogenMod, you also get access to quick shortcuts. Simply go into the settings, go under interface, and then go to quick launch shortcuts and pick which app you want to which direction of Google Now, whether to the left or to the right. We're going to go ahead and assign to take a screenshot to the left of Google Now. Swipe up and go to the left, boom, it takes a screenshot. So useful. I use it day in and day out. One of my most favorite features. Although very similar to the Google keyboard, this is the Android SDK keyboard, and I find it much better. As you see, there's symbols that correspond to each letter, and if you simply hold down on that letter, it's going to give you that symbol. Thanks to the large display, you're going to be able to have a great time going through websites, scrolling the web, and just doing different tasks day in and day out. Whether it's going through Facebook, looking up an email, looking up a recipe, whatever you're doing, it's just going to be a great overall experience because you're going to use all that excess screen real estate to do the job. And you can see I'm doing all this outdoors, and the screen visibility is excellent even when in the sun. I'm not going to say it's the best because there's still an awfully bad glare there, but nevertheless I just bump up the brightness and I can make out perfectly whatever I'm viewing. Therefore, my visual experience with this screen and with this phone is still excellent regardless if I have to bump up the brightness or not. And thanks to all those high-end specs, gaming is going to be a breeze. In fact, I have not yet found a game that this phone cannot handle. As you see here, I'm playing Injustice, which has a lot of frame rates and a lot of graphic detail, and it's able to handle it without a problem whatsoever, and I have not experienced any stutter. This is Godzilla, again, another game with a lot of high frame rates, and it does it without a problem whatsoever. The only issue that I have found is not necessarily the graphics, but rather the phone getting awfully hot when doing extensive tasks like gaming or filming in 4K. The back does get pretty hot. In fact, sometimes I wonder why the phone doesn't just shut off from all the overheating. So let's talk about pricing and availability. The Black Sandstone 64GB model will retail for $350, and it can be used on all GSM networks, including ones here in the US and WCDMA outside of the US. The White Silk model will retail for $300, but unfortunately both models you have to be invited to purchase them. And finally, we get to the final portion of the video, which is the camera. The 13 megapixel 6 lens f2.0 aperture dual LED flash camera with a Sony sensor, which is capable of shooting 4K UHD at 30 frames per second, 4K DCI at 24 frames per second, 1080p slow motion at 60 frames per second with no sound, and 720p 120 frames per second with no sound, of course. And there are a lot of other ways to record video as well, but I'm not going to go through them all. There's just way too many. As far as the camera app goes, it's going to be very simplistic while giving you tons of different shooting modes and different settings. It's not going to be too overbearing, and you're not going to get overwhelmed with a bunch of settings just blatantly thrown out in front of you, so you have to dig and dig just to get the one you want. And these are the different shooting modes you have to choose from, and it's going to give you a live view depending on which mode you actually choose, such as posterize or aqua, emboss, sketch, or neon. All of those, if you pick one, it's going to give you a live view of what that picture will look like. Now, it does not have live view HDR like the Galaxy S5 has. So if you pick HDR, it's not going to show you what that image is going to look like until after you take the picture. I don't want to give everything about the camera away, as I want you to be surprised when you experience it yourself. But here's some sample images. Sit back and enjoy. Okay, so we've come to the end of the video, and I'm going to wrap it up with the front-facing camera here and just give you guys a quick demonstration on how well it performs. Previously, on all my other comparisons with the Oneplus One, I always wrapped it up with the front-facing camera outdoors. This time I'm doing it indoors so you can see what it's like in low-lit situations, especially with the front-facing camera, because a lot of people take selfies. This is a 5-megapixel wide-angle lens, so it should have a good front-facing camera, but if you ask me, it's not very good. The sound has a lot of hiss and crackle in the background. The overall image quality really isn't that good. In fact, the iPhone 5S, which is almost a year older, is a much better front-facing camera. So nevertheless, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Drop me a thumbs up. Make sure you follow me on all my social media networks. And of course, as always, guys, thank you for watching and all your support.